The black card landed on the marble table. Two women grabbed for it instantly. The third didn't move. She was still wearing her cheap waitress uniform, coffee stains covering her apron, with a rent notice waiting on her apartment door. The billionaire stared at her. "Take it." She looked at the card. "What's the catch?"
Take it.
What's the catch?
The room went silent. He smiled. "There's always a catch."
There's always a catch.
Then why should I take it?
Because I'm giving you a choice.
A choice? It's an unlimited black card. I already know exactly what I'm buying.
3 cards. 30 days. Spend as much as you want.
Anything?
Anything.
No spending limit?
None.
Why us?
You'll find out.
Brand new one. Forget the car. I'm booking a luxury vacation first. I'm getting a designer wardrobe too. I'm already looking at Cartier. What about you? What are you buying? I don't know.
But Elena did something none of them expected.
Are you serious?
Who turns down an unlimited black card? Someone who doesn't know what they're being asked to buy.
She gave the card back. And that's when the billionaire finally smiled. Because the cards were never about money. He was testing what money couldn't buy. And before those 30 days were over, one woman would prove she deserved his fortune, while the other two would discover that their greed had just cost them everything. Welcome to SM Stories, where ordinary people face extraordinary moments. Secrets change lives, and sometimes the person everyone looks down on has the biggest story of all. Before we begin, tell us, what city are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments, sit back, and let's begin. Elena Cross had learned a long time ago that rich people don't test you because they're curious. They test you because they're afraid. She didn't know that yet, not consciously. But some part of her understood the moment Nathaniel Cole handed her that card and watched her face instead of watching the card itself. She almost said no. She had a shift the next morning at 6, and Dana's tuition payment was due in 9 days, and she didn't have time for whatever game this was. But the catering company had told her this was mandatory, a private client experience event, part of a contract with a hedge fund client, and if she walked out, she'd lose the job entirely. So she took the card. She just didn't smile when she did it. Bianca and Camille didn't notice her hesitation. They were already 3 drinks in, already comparing which stores they'd hit first thing in the morning. 30 days, Nathaniel repeated, standing at the head of the table. Spend on anything. No questions asked. At the end, we'll talk again. Talk about what? Elena asked. He looked at her a second too long. About what you did with it. Bianca laughed. What we did with it. We're going to enjoy it, obviously. Obviously, Nathaniel said, but his eyes stayed on Elena. The first 3 days, Bianca bought a car. Not leased, bought in full. A cherry red convertible she posted on every platform she had. Camille booked a suite at the Peninsula and started networking, which mostly meant showing the car to men who might be useful later. Elena paid her rent. Then she paid Dana's tuition bill in full, 3 months early. Then she put the card in a drawer and didn't touch it again. She went back to her shift the next morning like nothing had happened. Nathaniel found out about the rent payment within an hour, because of course he did. He had access to the card statements before she'd even swiped it. He sat in his office, an office his employees thought belonged to a hedge fund associate 3 levels below management, and stared at the transaction. Rent, not diamonds. Rent. He'd expected all 3 women to spend recklessly. It was, after all, the entire point of the test. But he hadn't expected one of them to pay off a college tuition bill and then stop. He called down to the catering company that afternoon and asked, without giving a reason, for Elena Cross to be assigned to his private events for the rest of the month. His assistant asked why. Because I want to know what she does next, he said. That wasn't the whole truth, but it was the part he was willing to say out loud. Elena didn't know that Nathaniel had rearranged 3 separate corporate contracts just to keep crossing paths with her. All she knew was that the same gray-suited man from the penthouse kept showing up at events she was working. The same man who'd handed her a car with no limit and asked her what the catch was. The 3rd time it happened, she confronted him in the hallway outside a ballroom, holding a tray of empty champagne glasses like a shield. Are you following me? I'm attending events I'm invited to, he said. That's not an answer. No, he admitted. It's not. She studied him. Something about the way he held himself didn't match the mid-level finance guy's story he'd given at the penthouse. He stood like someone used to giving orders, not taking them. But she didn't have the energy to chase that thought. She had a shift to finish. You haven't used the card, he said, before she could walk away. I used it for rent and tuition. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. She adjusted the tray on her hip. I don't need to prove anything to you. I didn't say you did. You're testing us. All three of us. I don't know why, and honestly, I don't care. I have a life to get back to. She walked away before he could answer. He watched her go and, for the first time in 3 years, felt something crack loose in his chest that he didn't have a name for. Bianca's car was repossessed on day 9. Not because she couldn't afford it. The card had no limit, but because the dealership flagged unusual purchase behavior and froze the transaction pending verification, a small technical hiccup Nathaniel had quietly requested. He wanted to see how she'd react to a walk. She reacted by screaming at a dealership manager for 20 minutes and then posting a video calling the company trash to her 400,000 followers. Camille, meanwhile, had used her 3 days at the peninsula to dig. She was a fool. She worked at the fund, or claimed to, and she'd noticed that Nathaniel Cole had no employment history before 3 years ago. No college listed anywhere she could find. No family. A man in his 30s with a 6-figure salary and no past. She brought it up over dinner. A dinner she'd arranged using the card, at a restaurant expensive enough that the waitstaff addressed customers by name before being told what it was. You don't exist before 3 years ago, she said, swirling her wine. I looked. People change jobs, Nathaniel said. Not like this. You appeared, fully formed, perfect resume, perfect apartment. Not a single photo online from before you were 29. She leaned forward. Who are you, really? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Careful, Camille. Curiosity's expensive. So is silence, she said, especially if I decide to keep digging. He didn't answer that. He paid the bill and left, and Camille sat there with a distinct feeling that she'd just threatened someone far more dangerous than she'd assumed. She didn't know how right she was. Elena's brother Dana called her on day 14, panicked, saying 2 men had shown up outside their apartment building asking questions about her. Not police, not friendly. What kind of questions? Elena asked, gripping the phone. They want to know about the black card, who gave it to you, what you're planning to do with it. Elena's stomach dropped. She hadn't told anyone about the card except Dana, and she certainly hadn't told anyone why she'd stopped using it after the tuition payment. She called Nathaniel that night, the first time she'd used a number he'd given her at the penthouse. Someone's asking about your card, she said. No greeting. At my apartment. About Dana. There was a pause on the line, and when Nathaniel spoke again, his voice had changed. Lower. Careful. Stay inside tonight. Don't open the door for anyone. I'll handle it. Handle it how? Who are you? I'll explain everything soon. I promise you that. That's not good enough. I know, he said, but it's what I can give you right now. He hung up before she could argue, and Elena stood in her kitchen holding a dead phone, more afraid than she'd been in years. And, underneath the fear, unmistakably curious about a man who could make 2 intimidating strangers vanish from her doorstep with a single phone call. The men outside her building were gone by morning. Elena never found out what Nathaniel said, or to whom, but 2 days later, she got her answer to a different question, the one about who he really was, and it came from the last place she expected. She was serving drinks at a corporate gala, one of the biggest events of the year, hosted by Colwell Industries. She recognized the name from the news, a multi-billion-dollar company that had been through a leadership shakeup a few years back after the founder's death. She was pouring champagne near the entrance when a black town car pulled up and a man stepped out, Nathaniel, in a suit sharper than anything she'd seen him wear before, and the entire room shifted. Executives stood a little straighter. A security guard at the door said, "Good evening, Mr. Coldwell," and bowed his head slightly. Elena nearly dropped the bottle in her hand. "Coldwell, not Cole, Coldwell." She watched him move through the crowd like he owned it, because she was beginning to understand. He did. An older man approached him near the stage, gray-haired, expensive suit, a tight smile that didn't match his eyes. "Nathaniel, didn't expect you tonight. I own 40% of this company, Marcus. I'll show up when I want." The older man's jaw tightened. "Careful how you say that in public. Careful how you've been running it in private," Nathaniel said, and walked past him. Elena stood frozen with a champagne bottle in her hand, watching a man she assumed was a mid-level finance associate walk through a ballroom, like a king returning to a kingdom that tried to forget him. She didn't approach him that night. She didn't know what to say. But she understood, finally, that the catch she'd asked about on day one had never been about the money at all. Bianca found out who Nathaniel really was the same week. Not through discovery, but because Camille told her, hoping to form an alliance. "He's a Coldwell," Camille said. "The Coldwell. Billions. And he's testing us. I think he's deciding which one of us is worth keeping around." Bianca's greed, already sharpened by 9 days of reckless spending, turned into something closer to hunger. She started showing up at events uninvited. She told mutual acquaintances she and Nathaniel were getting serious. She leaked a version of the story to a gossip account, implying she was already his girlfriend, hoping to force his hand publicly. It worked, in a way. It forced his hand, just not the way she wanted. Nathaniel called an end to the test 3 days early. He summoned all 3 women to Coldwell Industries headquarters, the top floor, the boardroom where his father used to run the company before his death, and where Marcus now sat at the head of the table more often than Nathaniel liked. Bianca arrived in a gown that cost more than most people's cars. Camille arrived in a tailored suit, clearly hoping to look like an equal rather than a contestant. Elena arrived straight from a shift, still in her work clothes, because she hadn't had time to change and hadn't seen the point in trying. Marcus was there too, uninvited, sitting at the far end of the table with the same tight smile from a gala. "Interesting little experiment, Nathaniel," Marcus said, "testing women with company money. Is this really how the heir to Coldwell Industries wants to spend his time?" "It's my money, Marcus, not the company's." For now, the tension between them was old and heavy, and Elena watched it pass between the 2 men like something with weight. Nathaniel turned to the 3 women. 30 days ago, I gave each of you an unlimited black card and told you to spend it however you wanted. I said there would be no rules." He paused. "That wasn't entirely true. There was one rule. I just never said it out loud." "What rule?" Bianca demanded. "I wanted to see who you become when nobody told you no." The room went quiet. "Bianca," Nathaniel continued, "you bought a car, then screamed at a stranger when it was delayed, then went to the press claiming a relationship that doesn't exist. Camille, you dug for my past the moment you suspected there might be money behind it, and you used what you found as leverage instead of asking me directly." He turned to Elena. "And you paid your rent, put your brother through school, and never touched the card again. Then when strangers showed up at your apartment because of something I caused, you called me, not to ask for more, but to protect your family." Elena felt her face flush. She hadn't realized any of that had been watched, weighed, recorded. "This isn't fair," Camille said. "You set us up. You lied about who you were." "I did," Nathaniel admitted, "because the people around me have lied about who they are for 3 years. My uncle told the board I wasn't ready to lead this company after my father died. He pushed me out using a technicality in the will and told the press I'd stepped away voluntarily. I built a second life under a false name because I needed to know, before I ever came back to claim what's mine, who would still want to know me if I had nothing." Marcus's smile finally cracked. "You have no proof of any of that." "I have 3 years of documentation, Marcus. Emails, financial records, the forged signature on the transfer of my father's shares, the one your lawyer thought I'd never find because I was supposedly too busy being not ready." Nathaniel's voice was calm, but it filled the room like a verdict. I'm not ready anymore. He set a folder on the table. The board meets in 1 week. This goes to every member of it. Marcus stood, said nothing, and walked out. It was the closest thing to a confession the room would ever get. Bianca and Camille left the building that night with nothing. No relationship, no story, no leverage. Just a sinking understanding that the black cards had been closed the moment Nathaniel walked out of the boardroom, and every purchase they'd made in the final hours would need to be explained to someone eventually. Elena stayed behind, sitting in a chair that cost more than she made in a month, staring at the folder on the table. You used us, she said quietly. All three of us. Real people. Real lives. I know, Nathaniel said, and I'm not going to pretend that was fair to you. It wasn't. You didn't sign up to be part of a test for a company you'd never heard of, run by a man whose real name you didn't know. He sat down across from her, the same seat he'd taken at the penthouse a month earlier. I can't undo that. All I can tell you is that everything after the penthouse, every time I showed up at your events, every conversation, that part stopped being a test days ago. I kept showing up because I wanted to. How am I supposed to believe that? You're not yet. That's fair. He slid an envelope across the table. Not a card this time, just paper. That's a permanent trust for your brother's education, separate from anything to do with me. No conditions. You can walk out of here right now and never see me again, and it stays yours. Elena looked at the envelope for a long time. Why? She finally asked. Why me? I was the one who barely used the card. I was the boring answer. You were the honest one, Nathaniel said. Everyone in my life for the last 3 years has wanted something from Nathaniel Coldwell. You were the only person who ever looked at Nathaniel Cole like she wasn't sure she wanted anything from him at all. Elena didn't take the envelope that night. She left it on the table and walked out, because 30 days of being tested had left her with more questions than she knew how to hold. And she needed time before she could trust an answer that came wrapped in that much money. 2 weeks passed. Nathaniel didn't chase her. He'd learned that much. At least, that chasing had never been what made her stay in the room in the first place. The board meeting happened. Marcus resigned before the vote could formally remove him. A quiet exit dressed up as a retirement in the company's press release, though everyone in the building knew the truth. Nathaniel Coldwell was formally reinstated as CEO of the company his father built, the same week the story of his 3-year disappearance leaked to the press, minus the details about the black cards, which he'd asked to be kept private, mostly to protect Elena from a spotlight she never asked for. He found her again the way he'd found her every time before, through the catering company. At another event, though this time he told his assistant the truth about why he wanted her assigned. She was setting up a table when he approached. No gray suit this time, nothing hidden. I'm not testing you, he said. I just wanted to see you. That's a strange line coming from you. I know. He almost smiled. I have a lot of strange lines left in me. I'm working on it. Elena studied him for a long moment. The same way she had in the penthouse, the same wary intelligence in her eyes. Except now there was something else underneath it too. The envelope's still on that boardroom table, isn't it? I had it moved to my office. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Why not? Because throwing away would mean giving up on the idea that you might come back for it. Elena set down the glass in her hand. Dana got into her top choice for grad school. Full ride. Actually, she earned it herself. She doesn't need your money. I know. I heard. Then why do you still want to give it to her? I don't, Nathaniel said. Not anymore. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here? Because for 3 years, I built a life where nobody knew who I really was. So nobody could love me for the wrong reasons. And the one time it actually worked, the one time someone looked at me and saw exactly what was there instead of what they wanted to be there, I let her walk out of a boardroom without telling her the only true thing I actually meant to say that night. What's that? That the test ended the day I met you. Everything since was just me being too much of a coward to say so. Elena didn't answer right away. She'd spent 30 days learning exactly how far people would go for money that wasn't theirs, and she wasn't going to hand over anything, not trust, not her time, not her heart, without being sure. But she also remembered a phone call in the middle of the night, a man who made strangers disappear from her doorstep without asking for anything in return, and the way he'd looked at her in a penthouse a month ago, like her question mattered more than her answer. "Buy me coffee," she said finally. "Regular coffee. No black card." For the first time since she'd met him, Nathaniel Coldwell laughed. A real laugh, unguarded. Nothing like the practiced smile he'd worn in every boardroom for 3 years. "Deal," he said. Marcus Coldwell was quietly investigated in the months that followed, and the forged signature Nathaniel had produced became the center of a private settlement that returned every share he'd stolen. He left the city entirely, and nobody in Coldwell Industries spoke his name in meetings again. Bianca's video about the repossessed car resurfaced months later, this time attached to the full story, and she disappeared from the influencer circuit within the year. Camille kept her job at the fund, quieter now, having learned the hard way that digging for someone's secrets was a different thing entirely from earning their trust. Elena kept her job too, for a while, not because she needed to, but because she wasn't the kind of person who let a man's money define who she was. She and Nathaniel took things slowly, deliberately, the way two people build something meant to last instead of something meant to impress a crowd. A year later, at a small gathering that had nothing to do with black cards or boardrooms, Dana asked her sister the question everyone had been too polite to ask. "Did you ever regret not using the card? All that money and you just paid rent." Elena looked across the room at Nathaniel, laughing at something one of the catering staff had said, the same staff she used to work alongside, people he still remembered by name. "No," she said. "I think that's exactly why I got to keep the thing that actually mattered. Some people spend unlimited money trying to prove what they're worth. Elena Cross never spent $1 proving it, because the moment she stopped chasing the card started chasing her.